Unless you've been living in a cave for some time, you can't fail to have seen that we have a massive housing crisis in this country. Rents are skyrocketing. There aren't enough places available for rent. Young people can't get on the housing ladder. Young people can't even afford to rent flats or properties where they work. They're having to mass house share, 6 to a flat, 7 to a house, or they're having to rely on the bank of mum and dad to give them a big deposit to enable them to get on the housing ladder, or they're just fleeing the cities. That's why cities like London, Manchester, Birmingham look so different now to what they did 25, 30 years ago. What's causing that housing crisis? Well, we've been led to believe, or we're constantly told by the politicians, that it's just been a case of not building enough houses. And every time anyone raises the idea that it might be something to do with mass immigration, mass migration, the sheer number of people that have come into this country, that gets completely poo-pooed. No, of course it's not. It's nothing to do with that. There's plenty of room for the people that are living here. It's just a case that we haven't built enough houses and we don't manage our housing stock properly. Well, it turns out that that's bullshit. How do I know that that's bullshit? Well, you may have missed this in the news over the weekend, but there's a guy called Hugh Pill, Huwpill. Look him up. He's the chief economist at the Bank of England. So not somebody just to be completely ignored, and clearly very much a member of the establishment. And he has come out and openly said that it's mass migration and the effects of mass migration over the last 15, 20 years that have had a direct impact on the housing shortages in this country. In fact, he says that 89% of the housing shortages in this country are down to mass migration. He directly says that the soaring costs of rental properties are directly down to mass migration. He says that the reason that landlords are fleeing and getting out of the industry is because of the huge tax rises and regulatory changes that are being put, burdens that are being put on that sector by successive governments, started under Conservatives and really ramped up now under Labour. And because they're fleeing the market, there's less private properties on the market going to be available for rent, and therefore that pushes the cost up even more. And all of this is directly attributed by him to the effects of mass migration. And he quoted 2022 when we had net migration of nearly 800,000 people. It's completely unsustainable. So he didn't go on to talk about other aspects of our service industries and service economies. But if that is having that effect on the housing sector, why would it not be having the same effect on the NHS, on your ability to get a GP appointment, on the ability for you to get a hospital appointment? Why would it not be having a direct effect on schools and school places and the ability to get your kids into the schools that you want them to go to? Why would it not be having an effect on crime and prison places and the shortage of prison places? Why would it not be having an effect on general street crime and the rise in other crimes? Clearly, if mass migration is having such a big impact, according to the chief economist of the Bank of England, on housing, on house prices, on rental availability and rental prices, then it must be having a comparable effect in other areas of society, whether that's crime, whether it's health, whether it's education, whatever it might be. It's obvious. We all know it. And we also know that when the politicians tell us that that's not the case, that they're just lying. They're gaslighting us. They're bullshitting us. Do not believe them. Illegal immigration is a big problem, but it's not the only problem. Migration generally has been too big, too quick, too fast. It's been uncopable with. We need to reduce it by 90% for the next decade and keep it there. It's the only way we're going to solve any of these problems.